He was the epitome of an alaroro, a miser who refused to part with his money under any circumstances. In the modern city of Ipetumodu, there lived a very wealthy man named Abiodun, known far and wide for his immense riches. However, Abiodun's fame did not stem from his generosity or kindness, but rather from his extreme stinginess. He was the epitome of an alaroro, a miser who refused to part with his money under any circumstances. Abiodun's mansion was the grandest in Ipetumodu. It was a sprawling estate with high walls, intricate gates, and beautifully manicured lawns. Despite his wealth, Abiodun never spent money on anything or anyone, including his own family. His wife, Iyabo, and their children, Tunde and Sade, lived a life of relative poverty, wearing worn-out clothes and eating simple meals. One day, Tunde's school was hosting a cultural day event. The students were required to wear traditional attire, and Tunde's classmates were excitedly discussing their plans. Tunde, however, was worried. He knew his father would never give him money for new clothes. "Papa, we have a cultural day at school," Tunde said hesitantly. "Can I have some money to buy a new agbada?" Abiodun looked at Tunde with disapproval. "Your old clothes are good enough," he said firmly. "There is no need to waste money on new clothes." Tunde's face fell, but he nodded and left the room. The next day, he attended the cultural event in his faded, worn-out agbada, feeling embarrassed and out of place among his well-dressed peers. His wife, Iyabo, often volunteered at the local community hospital, where she saw firsthand the struggles of the less fortunate. One day, she returned home looking particularly worried. "Abiodun, the hospital is in desperate need of new equipment," Iyabo explained. "Patients are suffering because they lack basic medical supplies. Can we make a donation?" Abiodun barely looked up from his newspaper. "We cannot afford to waste money on such things," he said. "Let the government handle it." Iyabo's heart ached for the patients she had seen, but she knew there was no changing her husband's mind. One evening, as Abiodun was returning from his office, he encountered a frail old man sitting by the roadside. The man was dressed in tattered clothes and looked extremely hungry. "Please, sir, can you spare some change for food?" the old man asked, his voice trembling. Abiodun scoffed and walked past the old man without a second glance. "People should learn to fend for themselves," he muttered under his breath. The old man watched Abiodun walk away, a knowing look in his eye. Little did Abiodun know, this old man was no ordinary beggar. He was a wise sage named Baba Afolabi, who had come to Ipetumodu to teach Abiodun a lesson. That night, Abiodun had a strange dream. He found himself in a vast empty desert, surrounded by all his treasures, gold coins, jewels, and stacks of money. Despite the wealth around him, he felt a deep sense of loneliness and despair. Suddenly, Baba Afolabi appeared before him. "Abiodun, you have hoarded your wealth and pushed away those who care about you," he said. "This is your future if you do not want to change your ways from being an alaroro." Abiodun woke up in a cold sweat, the sage's words echoing in his mind. He shook his head, dismissing the dream as nonsense. As time went on, Abiodun's stinginess only grew worse. Iyabo, Tunde, and Sade continued to suffer in silence. The children's education suffered because Abiodun refused to pay for extra tutoring or school supplies. Iyabo's health began to decline due to the stress and lack of proper nutrition. One day, Sade fell seriously ill with a high fever. Iyabo begged Abiodun to take her to a private hospital for better treatment. "She will be fine with the local clinic," Abiodun insisted. "There is no need to spend extra money." Iyabo took Sade to the local clinic, but they lacked the necessary equipment to properly diagnose and treat her illness. Sade's condition worsened and Iyabo felt helpless. The townspeople of Ipetumodo had grown increasingly frustrated with Abiodun's stinginess. Despite his wealth, he never contributed to community projects or helped those in need. They decided to hold a town meeting to discuss the issue. At the meeting, various community members voiced their concerns. Abiodun has the means to help so many people, said Mama Folake, a respected elder, yet he refuses to lift a finger. Ade the mechanic added, "We must find a way to make him understand the importance of generosity. Perhaps we should appeal to his family." A delegation of the townspeople, led by Mama Folake and Ade, visited Abiodun's mansion. They were greeted by Iyabo, who looked worn out and tired. "Please, Iyabo, we need to speak with Abiodun about the community's needs," Mama Folake said gently. Iyabo led them to the living room, where Abiodun was counting his money. He looked up, annoyed at the intrusion. "What is it?" Abiodun asked curtly. "Abiodun, we are here to ask for your help," Ade began. "The community needs funds for the hospital, schools and other vital projects. Your wealth could make a huge difference." Abiodun's expression hardened. "I am not responsible for the community's problem," he said. "I worked hard for my money, and I will not waste it on frivolous expenses." The townspeople left, disheartened but determined to find another way to reach Abiodun. One evening, as Abiodun was locking up his office, he noticed a group of children playing outside. They wore old, torn-out clothes, and their laughter was tinged with sadness. Abiodun felt a strange tug at his heart, but quickly dismissed it. As he walked home, he encountered Baba Afolabi again. The old man smiled warmly. "Abiodun, you still have a chance to change your ways," he said. "Remember, true wealth is not measured by money alone." Abiodun ignored the man and continued on his way. That night, he had another dream. This time, he saw his own funeral. His coffin was filled with gold and jewels, but there were no mourners. His family stood at a distance, looking sorrowful but relieved. Abiodun woke up feeling uneasy. He tried to shake off the dream, but the images haunted him throughout the day. That evening, he felt a sharp pain on his chest. Ignoring it, he continued his daily routine, but the pain worsened. Iyabo, noticing his distress, pleaded with him to see a doctor. "Abiodun, please, you need medical attention," she begged. Abiodun, stubborn as ever, refused. "It will pass," he said. "There is no need to waste money." Days turned into weeks, and Abiodun's condition worsened. He grew weaker and more irritable, pushing away those who tried to help him. Eventually, he collapsed and was rushed to the local clinic. The doctors did their best, but without proper equipment and facilities, they could not save him. Abiodun passed away, clutching a small bag of gold coins. In accordance with Abiodun's wishes, he was buried with his wealth. His coffin was filled with gold, silver, and precious jewels. The townspeople watched the grand funeral procession with a mix of sadness and relief. Mama Folake and Ade stood by Iyabo, Tunde and Shode, offering their support. "We will help you rebuild your lives," Ade promised. Iyabo, Tunde and Shode worked hard to move forward, guided by the lessons learned from Abiodun's mistakes. With the support of the community, they rebuilt their homes and found happiness in love and kindness of those around them. Abiodun's story became a cautionary tale in Ipetumodo. Parents would tell their children about the stingy man who was buried with his wealth, teaching them the importance of generosity and compassion.